What's up, everyone? Welcome to the What's Your Five podcast. My name is Rodel, and as you can tell, my partner in crime, Anthony, is not with me tonight, but that's okay. He took the night off for recording, but I'm super duper excited because today is episode 4. I'm recording the top 5 games of all time. This is the one I was waiting for. I know Anthony was waiting for the top 5 TV shows, but for me, I was waiting for the top 5 games. I do have a special guest tonight. I'm not just going to talk by myself, so I'm really excited about that. But first, I do want to thank you guys for listening to the podcast. If you have any questions or if you have any future topics that you want to go ahead and shoot out to us, you can always reach us at topics@whatsyour5.com. You can also visit us at whatsyour5.com to see this podcast list, or you can actually see previous lists from previous episodes. Also, if you are listening, I would love it if you can hit the subscribe button, or if you're watching, you can hit the subscribe button and hit that bell notification so that way you get notified of any episode that comes into play. With that out of the way, I do want to introduce my special guest for tonight. He's actually a significant other of a coworker of mine at my current job right now. What's kind of funny is that, I've never actually met my guest tonight in person. But I feel that we've talked enough, within the past couple months during this whole time of quarantine and COVID that, he and I kind of get along really well. He reminds me of somebody I used to hang out with back in high school. So it was really cool to speak to him, voice chat, text chat and all that stuff. And it was really nice to be able to vibe with him. And I kind of got his vibe when I found out from his significant other, my coworker, that he was a huge gamer. I was like, all right, we got to go ahead and get this going. And I think I have the perfect guest for this podcast. So he's an IT professional. He flies drones. He's a huge gamer. If he wasn't a huge gamer, I don't think he would actually be in this podcast. But welcome to the show, Marc Hernandez. Marc, how's it going, sir?
Hey, it's going pretty well.
Good. Good. Did you have a good week this week, or everything good? Everything working out all right?
Pretty good. Really productive week, I want to say. Moving forward pretty well in work and getting things done here. Yeah. Checking off the honey-do list this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. The honey-do list, man. You got to keep it going, man. What are some things that they should know about you?
What I did was I worked for projects team. Basically, what that does is I go around various stores in my district and set up new products. So it was kind of like Christmas for me every day. Like,
sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it was the same type of presents every week until it changed the next week. But yeah, dude, it was a whole lot of fun. Like, I really enjoyed it, but I mean, like, I wasn't like doing what I studied for, and that was IT. And but it really catered to my interest in, like, tinkering, and because I had to do a lot. Yeah, exactly. I had to do a lot of fixing and MacGyvering, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it. I mean, like, got dirty, got my hand, got into a lot of different things. But ultimately, when I moved down here, I found out my love for RC things really took off, and drones, and kind of just took off from there. It's kind of in a lull right now, but I mean, like, I expect to pick up more.
Sure. Well, I mean, considering the COVID thing and quarantine and all that stuff, one thing I would like to ask, because I actually had one of those like Amazon drones, right? $40 ones. And it was cool. I mean, I thought it was really, really interesting to fly one, and like, it's very, it takes a lot of finesse. I will say that.
Yeah, it does. And I think that everybody should start off with something like that. So I mean, like, I started off with that before I, moved to something bigger.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, that we mentioned this, because it kind of brings me into a new segment, right? So for this new segment, we here at What's Your Five would like to ask our special guests the rapid 5 questions. So I talked to Mark this week about doing this episode, and I told him, our topic was top 5 games of all time. So I gave him some time to prepare, his list, be able to get himself familiarized, and then be able to kind of talk about it with me this week. But the rapid 5 is completely, and utterly, he has no idea what questions I'm going to ask him. So I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, this is the first time we're doing this. So I'm sorry, Mark, this is your trial by fire here for this episode. But I think we'll be okay. I'm not.
Yeah, let's do this.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I am. And so we'll see how it goes. So with the rapid 5, here we go. Question number 1: favorite game system of all time.
Game system. Oh shoot. That's a hard one. I'd want to say PS2.
Okay, PS2.
PS2.
Okay, good deal. Would you rather be blind or deaf?
Oh, that's tough. I think I'd rather be deaf, but I'd rather not be any of those. So
yeah,
it's like if I were to pick one.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, like you either can't see, you can't hear.
No, I think I'd rather be able to see. Like,
okay,
I mean, you can read subtitles. I mean, you can't hear like traffic coming, but I mean, like you're definitely like on your your head's on a swivel. Like that's definitely
Possibly.
me. Like I'm pretty situational aware. Like I can, I'm pretty aware of my environment. There's a lot of things I do notice a lot before certain people.
Sure.
So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in the same boat, and I think part of that's just because I only have one functioning eye. I don't know if I ever told you that, but yeah. So like I look everywhere, and I'm like very aware of the situation, what's going on. So, sometimes I look like I'm kind of like Data, like like from Star Trek, But yeah. All right. So question number 3, rapid 5. When watching anime, dubs or subs?
Dubs.
Okay, good. All right, we're best friends. We're best friends now. Just so you guys know. All right,
I get heckled so hard by Manny, aka Waffle Flies.
Well, my Manny's one of our good friends that has a Discord that we all chat in. And that's how we chat along and whatnot. And yeah, so shout out to Manny. But anyway, okay. So question number 4: if there was a talent you wish you had, what would it be?
Oh shoot. That's pretty hard. I don't know. I think if I had a talent, I think I'd want to be better. I don't know, at sports. I don't know. I'm not really like the sports type. I mean, I'd be like, I don't know. I'd like to be more athletically inclined. Like, okay. I don't know. Right. Like, I feel like I get a moderate amount of
exercise.
Exercise and stuff. I think that would definitely improve. But I mean, like, if I were to like increase my athleticism, I think that probably be good.
Okay, cool, good deal. We're almost done, so don't worry. You're almost out of the fire here. Last question is going to be, and this one, was one of my favorite questions of all time. Is always going to be, if you can go to any concert for a musical artist, living or dead, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a rough one. I probably want to say Queen. Honestly,
nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Back in the prime.
Yeah, definitely pre Adam Lambert, right? Like
come on. I mean, you can't beat Freddie Mercury as much as you want to try and plug new people in.
Yeah, right.
You can't beat him. Like,
no kidding.
When that comes on, like me and Arlene are just kind of just.
Yeah, no. You're all done, right? Now it's I'm a huge Queen fan. Of course, Wayne's World was definitely a contributor to that. But
you would watch that so many times. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it easily could easily be up there in the movies in my list of all time, like for sure. But that's a different episode, guys. Just so you know. And besides, that's episode 2. If you guys haven't listened to it yet. But anyway, cool deal. Thank you very much for participating in the rapid fire questions. I'm very glad that I got to talk to your significant other, Arlene, during this time because that was kind of catered towards you. So that way I wasn't trying to blindside you with things that you didn't know. But yeah, she, I remember she was telling me that you're a huge anime fan. So I was like, okay, one of the biggest arguments of all time is always going to be dubs versus subs. I'm a subs kind of guy, to be honest with you. But It's a lot of those animes are really just about the way that the artist and the animation is supposed to be spoken to, even though it's a language I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that you convey the feelings a bit more. That doesn't mean that there are other animes in the world that doesn't benefit from having dubs. Plain and simple.
I think I feel the same way. Like, I've watched the dub, but I went back and actually read subtitles, and I mean I can see there's those inaccuracies when you're trying to translate it, and it does read better than it does sound. So
sure.
I mean, I think that I do both. Like, it's kind of hard for me to like want to say that I want to do or just strictly dub, but it's like at the same time I want to read it, but sometimes I just kind of want to veg out and just like, listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a lot of, I think it's a generation, not a generational thing, but I think it's an age thing, right? Because I remember growing up, I was all about subs, all about it. Like, dubs are just like a big no-no, and I'm just like, no, that does not sound like the character. That's not what he said, and just hated it. And I was a purist at the time. Now, as I'm older, I'm like, I want to kind of watch, and I don't want to really read. And if I'm like doing laundry, like the other day, I was watching Ranma, and I was like, man, the English dubs are actually okay in Ranma, but I would like to watch it in subtitles. But I'm just like,
dude, this day and age now in our not day and age, but I mean like at our age, like you got to multitatask. Like you can't just gone are the days where you could just sit on the couch and watch anime all day.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just like that, the games that are on this list, at least for me, are those type of games where I can just veg out. And I think this is a lot of to deal with like my preteens/teens. So we're kind of going into this here. I want to say that this is very near and dear. My list, my personal list here is based mostly off of personal feeling and the time at the time, right? It was the times in my life that I was when I was playing these things, and which made a huge impact. And so I think that with my list here, that's where it's kind of based off of. Now, granted, a lot of these games, are mostly AAA titles in that respect. I mean, but at the same time, they're not. They weren't AAA. They were AAA titles, but they weren't anything back then where you're just like, oh my god, like it wasn't like a Final Fantasy VII remake, right? Where you're just like, everybody just AAA title, and everybody's just kind of sink in and swarm, or Ghost of Tsushima, or Red Dead Redemption 2, whatever the case is. Like these games at the time didn't have that much press, or they did have press, but it was only by gamers. It was like, ooh, like so. But with that intro, we're gonna go ahead and get into it, and it's gonna be a special guest first because it's my show, and so I'm gonna go ahead and ask Mr. Mark, what is your 5 top games of all time, starting with number 5.
Okay, number 5, I have Rocket Knight Adventures for Sega.
Really?
Genesis. Yeah.
Ooh, very good choice. Very
little
good choice.
Background behind that is Sega was my first home console.
Sega Genesis, yes.
Yes, Sega Genesis. I did not start off with Nintendo. That was for one of my a neighbor started off with that. One of my best friends. His family has a Super Nintendo.
Okay.
And I would go over there and play Nintendo games like Mario. So, like spoiler alert, I don't have any Marios in my list because I didn't really grow up with it.
I think we need to stop recording right now. I think we're done. So go ahead.
So sorry about that. But this is my top 5. Okay, not your.
Yes,
top.
Exactly. That's what I'm telling you guys. For all you listeners, you guys know this is top 5, no holds barred. Cut the fat. We need to get this going. Rocket Knight Adventures, Genesis for Mark. Tell me why.
So I didn't grow up with any platformers like Mario,
okay.
Mega Man.
Right.
So what we had was Sega Genesis. So when I had, platformers like Sonic.
Yes.
We had, what else was there? One I mean, Sonics were pretty much like
that was
synonymous
that
with
was a
Sega.
major platformer of Sega
Exactly.
Genesis for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and it was packaged with mine. So when I got the Sega, I got exposed to Sonic, but ultimately I chose Rocket Knight Adventures
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know if you ever played that game or ever heard of it. Seen
Oh,
the
I
box.
heard it. For sure.
It was like a possum that's
Mm-hmm.
iron, has you clad in armor,
Yep.
armed with a
Yep.
rockets on his back, 2
Mm-hmm.
rockets, and a sword, and you just go around and take out these this pig empire. I forget the names. It's been so long. I have my Genesis,
Sure.
my family's no longer here. Like
Right,
I need
right,
to
right.
bring it out, but
Yeah.
when we get enough space to pop that guy, I'll definitely bring that guy in and pop him in its place.
Oh
So
yeah. Back then, and again, I think I think we're dating ourselves. I think we're around the same age. We didn't have the money back then to buy other games, right? Like we don't, when you're 7, 8, 9, yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, from there, from like 7 to 16, 17, you don't have the clout, man. Your parents are the ones that are buying you these games. You're asking for these for Christmas, birthdays, Hanukkah, whatever, celebration, that you get presents from. That's where you get your games from, right? And you had to go back there. You had to actually play that game over and over again, and that's part of the beauty of, and this is where it dates me, right? Where it's like, we had it so good back then because we had so many good games back then.
yeah,
And it's I totally get it, right? And what's really cool, what I find really interesting about it is, Rocket Sword Adventures wasn't necessarily popularized, but the cover art was really cool.
yeah,
Like I thought, like the Sonic cover art was really nice. Super Mario World later on, because obviously Genesis came out a little bit before Super Nintendo, and the cover art for Sonic was really cool. It was very animated, and then like I said, Rocket Sword Adventures had a really cool possum dude with his ironclad suit and all that stuff. I mean, back then you didn't have game reviews. You had magazines, you had EGM, you had GamePro, you had all these other magazines, but you didn't get to see these Metacritic scores or any type of these scores that you come in and be like, oh, I don't have to buy this game because it sucks, or whatever. You really just went on your gut feeling and was like, this looks dope. I'm gonna
exactly.
go ahead and buy it.
You didn't have the internet. You didn't have, like you said, game reviews, YouTube videos,
Yep.
Let's Plays, the first 15.
Yep.
None of that. Like you had to base it off the cover, like at the video store or so.
Yep.
Oh, that's one. Yeah, like a lot of my games, like I would rent and try out, and eventually, if I wanted to buy it, like, yeah, I think I took a chance on the Rocket Knight, but yeah, we didn't have any of that. So it was a Wild West, man.
It was wild. Oh, it's totally Wild West. Totally Wild West. So
you're stuck with that for seven days, and you're
stuck with 7 days, or you're stuck with that forever. So my number 5 is fairly near and dear to my heart, and reason being is because this was during high school, and all my buddies and I we all played this game together, and it was one of those experiences where it's just like, what did you do at this part? Oh, what did you do at this part? And I also remember too that this was at the height of the fact that the Sony PlayStation was very hackable back then, in the sense of you can actually play burned discs without a mod chip. You can do the swap trick. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But you can basically swap trick where you had like an original game, you pop it in, turn on the PlayStation, and then like once you get to a certain point, you can boot it up, you can take the disc out, put the burn disc in, and then you can start playing. And I remember this is actually how I started playing this game, which was Metal Gear Solid 1 or Metal Gear Solid.
Ooh, such a good game.
Such an amazing game. Oh yeah. And so, between all of the, this was like groundbreaking, right? Because the cinematics of this game was just outstanding. It really, bar none, set the bar for every single
really high
game after that. They all had to step it up after that, right? The voice acting, for what it's worth, was good and bad. It was in English, but I mean, David Hayter, totally killed it as Snake, and that's Snake, right? I mean, that is Snake.
Yeah, synonymous. Voice, you see Snake. You see that pixelated face. You see that bandana.
Yep.
See that sneaking suit. I'm getting goosebumps here, man. I'm thinking.
And so, I just the game just had so many different accolades in between, and I was just saying, one of my favorite parts in the game all time. And spoiler alert, guys, if you guys never played this game, is the Psycho Mantis part, right? Where Psycho Mantis was one of the bosses in the game. What you didn't know, what back then when you were playing the game, you had no idea that they were able to read your memory card. And so when Psycho Mantis reads my memory card on my PlayStation, knowing the fact that I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and he says it out loud to me and says, "You like playing Castlevania, don't you?" No joke.
Creepy voice though. You got to do it.
Like
playing Castlevania.
Oh man, I freaked out. I'm like, holy shit, that is amazing. Yeah. Technology is
that
amazing.
Was like next level. Like when that happened to me, I was like, how are you supposed to beat this guy when like he knows your shit?
I know, and then and the other thing too about it was so funny is that I actually had a Sony TV, so during the times when it would like black out, it said like Hideo on there, and I'm like, what the hell happened to my TV? And like, not only that, but like, how am I supposed to beat this guy, right? So I'm just like, oh my god. But I mean, and the other thing that was really cool about it is that you had you had some choices, like do you save Meryl or do you just leave her, and that determined what exactly is going to happen later on in the game. Now, granted, that's not a new thing, right? But I mean, it's like, but at the same time, as you're playing it, you feel more and more like in tune. And there's a ton of other games that did it, and the one game that comes to mind that I wish I had on my list, but it's not, is Chrono Trigger. Because obviously there's different things that you had to do in the game in order for you to get to the different endings, and and it's all time based, right? So, but Metal Gear Solid, super solid game, super duper fun. I loved it. Story was amazing. It was something that my friends and I will talk about every once so often. But back then during high school, that was all we talked about. It was just like, what did you get for your score at the end when you beat it? Oh, I got Tiger. Oh, I got Snake because I'm cool like that. And I did, I didn't kill anybody, So it's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, that's such an awesome pick. I'm like, why didn't I pick the Metal Gear series? Like, that is honestly one of my favorite games too.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, man, this is what I'm talking about. That this is the beauty of this show, is that you put your list together. Let's we'll figure it out, and then we can go from there. So let's go ahead with number 4. What is your number 4, Mark?
This was a toughie. I picked I'm sorry, not Metal Gear.
We could then. That's fine.
No, that would have been funny if like we put the same stuff. Actually, I'm curious to see if we like pick the same things.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I wonder.
Yeah.
So I'd had to move up to the PlayStation 2 category. PlayStation 2 console. Yep. I picked Mobile Suit Gundam Zeonic Front.
Wow.
It's a real obscure game. It's really hard to find.
Yes.
I'm a huge Mobile Suit Gundam fan. Like I love like MS, the 8th MS team anime. Okay. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's great.
Zeonic Front. Huh?
Yep.
Wow. That was, correct me if I'm wrong, that was a one of the launch titles for PS2, right? I want to say it was a launch title for PS2. It was a very early title. It wasn't necessarily
maybe early title, because I think it's been out for a very long time, because it's really hard to find. And I kind of took a leap on it. I didn't. I mean, I went to one of the hole-in-wall like mom and pop gaming shops that just would go to swap meets or other meetups and make their money and exchanging games that way. Sure. And I picked that up and I was like, hey, I wonder how this is good. How this is going to be, because they do have like several Gundam Dynasty Warriors games, and I was like, okay, these are cool. Like, I get into that. But Zeonic Front, and there was another one called Federation versus Xeon that I was tempted to put on this list, but it was like a third person, hack and slash, almost like a Dynasty Warriors. But I ultimately picked Zeonic Front because it was more of a tactical game. You really had to kind of think about how you expend your energy, your rounds, and approach like the other enemies, the other enemy AI around the map. And it wasn't like, you had like, you're like jogging around and just like running around with your beam sword or anything like that.
Sure.
Baddies. Like it was, you felt like you were actually piloting that Zaku. And And you're not like running around in no Sharzaku or anything like that. You're like one of the grunts, like
Yeah, right.
So it felt real. I was like, okay, this is pretty great. I can get behind this, and yeah, and it was pretty cool because like you're on the other side of the fence. You were playing the bad guys, Xeon.
Yeah.
But I mean, like they're just what if they're just like
normal people, right?
Like they just had different views. But I mean, yeah, it's ultimately that game is great, and I mean.
So,
all the anime.
So I take it then that you played this game way after it was released. So I had to look this up because obviously that's who I am. It came out in January 15th, 2002. So yeah. So I mean it was an earlier title.
I get it. Yeah. There's two different people. Like there's people that I have a coworker that's really big into Macross but never watch the Gundam anime or like anything of like they wouldn't know where to start.
Right. No, totally.
There's so many different
arcs,
timelines. Yeah, exactly. So
different arcs.
Yeah. So I mean, I've never watched Robotech or Macross.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I haven't. But it's weird. Like I've started with Mobile Suit.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really lacking. I need to get in on that.
No.
Like I'm in the same boat. I don't know where to start. So
I know. It's all one anime series. I did this cut in all the way through, right? Macross Plus is an easy, digestible three episode or 6, I think, if I remember right. But yeah, it's really the whole mech suit thing. I mean, I always loved it. Do you build?
I don't. I mean, I do watch some builds. Like occasionally I'll pop into YouTube and be like, let's look up some builds.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing like what they do. I really love to get on their level. Like they turn like this plain mobile suit and just like if there's like a side by side comparison of like before and after, like it's just amazing like what they can do.
Oh yeah, I mean especially when they do like battle damage, when like they like splatter stuff or have the dust and all that stuff. Oh yeah, totally.
You're getting me excited right now. Yeah, no. Have you been to the have you been to Diver City in Japan?
I haven't. No, I didn't go there when I went. Oh, I know.
So you didn't go to the
I didn't.
the Gundam headquarters.
I know. I went to Akihabara. I was in Akihabara a lot. And then I did just Shibuya and like all the other stuff. We stayed in Shinjuku, so we stayed around there, not knowing that some of the Shinjuku stuff is pretty shady. So we weren't aware of that until like halfway through the trip. I was like, whoa, like okay, and this ain't the maid cafes that I'm used to back in Akihabara. So, but yeah, I definitely wanted to go, but it was just, I mean, we had. My buddy and I, when we went, we had like maybe like 6 days to just do everything, and it was like tough. So,
dude, it's so hard. Like
so hard.
When me and Waffles went, like I didn't get to see everything that I want to see, but at the same time, we went to go see. We went to the Gundam headquarters and get in to see that. Like I don't know if it's a scale version of like what was what it's supposed to be in the anime, but at the time it was Gundam Unicorn. We watch it transform, but that was the icing on the cake. But going into the headquarters and seeing all the other models that other artists have submitted and are present in that gallery, like it's amazing. Like they've won awards, and like you were talking about battle damage, like they have little dioramas and everything. We can go on about this. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. But I digress. I mean, Xeonic Front. Very tactful, right? That was something that was your jam. You made you think. It wasn't just a hack and slash where it was just going to town. I'm totally on board for that. That's really cool. So good to know. All right. So my number 4 pick. It's funny you tell me earlier that you weren't a Nintendo fan growing up, considering what my number 4 pick is. Just because this game pretty much, I remember very clearly the day I got it. My aunt in Chicago shipped it in a USPS box, and the jerks at the mail clerk or the mail guy shoved that game in the Super Nintendo box and the box and shoved it into the mailbox, you know, and I was like, what the hell? And so like the box was pretty much damaged to hell, but the game was still working properly. That game is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
Solid choice.
Yeah. Link to the Past, by far. I mean, I could have chose Breath of the Wild for this because Breath of the Wild is one of the best games that's ever been made in our lifetime, like for sure.
Yes.
Link to the Past, and the only reason why I chose Link to the Past was because it was a very near and dear game to my heart growing up and playing this in 1991. And it was something that, you know, I played the original Zelda on. My dad was a big Zelda fan when he, you know, when he, in the Nintendo, he would play, but this was my game, you know, like my aunt bought this game for me to play. And I played it and I beat it numerous times, and every single time I loved it. And I loved the exploration, loved the graphics. You know, I mean, the story, of course, is pretty simple, but you know, it's one of those games that you can replay over and over again, and you just enjoy it every single time. And it's so whimsical, and just there's a lot of. It's just a very, you know, it's a very feeling game for me. You know, and again, this is something that you don't. There's a lot of games out nowadays. I don't know if you still get that anymore, but it's definitely something for me that when I think about this game, that's the first thing I think about. Is you know, when I opened up that game and I played it for the first time, and I played it for the 6th time, played it for the 19th time, 20th time, you know, and I think I replayed it. I want to say last year or the year before. Still holds up to this time, which is amazing. You know, so but yeah, thoughts.
Awesome pick. Like I mean, you know, look. Huge Zelda fan.
Yeah,
huge Zelda fan. I'm wearing a Zelda shirt.
Yeah.
Huge Zelda fan. I mean, I have several collectibles. I collect the amiibos. Like I have every single. I mean, give or take, like, you know, 2 or 3 Zelda amiibos. Like I love that game. You know, like I would have picked Skyward. Or I would have picked Breath of the Wild, but you know, or you know, or Link to the Past too.
Right.
Because that was one of the games that I would go over to my best friend's place and play. Because I did not have the Nintendo.
Wow.
I had Sega, so I would go over there and, you know, we'd exchange, play. You know, I'd actually have my own little save on there.
Oh,
so
are you guys still friends now? Is the question.
Oh yeah, we're still friends.
So then there you go. That now how cool is that?
I don't know if you've ever heard of this. I don't think many people have.
Okay.
Or maybe just this edition, but my number 3 is Tokyo Extreme Racer 0.
Whoa.
Oh, have you heard of that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right. For sure. Now let me ask you this: PlayStation 2 or Dreamcast?
2. PlayStation 2. I didn't get a I didn't get a PS2 or I'm sorry, a Dreamcast. One of my friends actually had a Dreamcast, but you know, we would play that horrible Sonic game that was on it. Like,
Sonic Adventure or was it Sonic Adventure that was a horrible Sonic game? Was
what was that one with you had like the open world and you're running through a city or something like that?
Yeah, it was
Adventures?
Yeah, it was Sonic Adventures. That was one of the launch titles for the game.
Yeah. Okay, then that one.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Wow. You didn't like that one, huh?
Nah.
So Tokyo Extreme Racer 0. That's okay. So, and the reason why I say, you know, great racing game. In fact, I was actually watching another podcast, Game Scoop from IGN, and they were talking about one of the IGN editors was talking about Ridge Racer, which I loved. Tokyo Extreme Racer, that series had that vibe, but I loved the way that they presented it. As far as, you know, the freeways and all that stuff.
You know, all the freeway driving, flashing lights, clockwise, counterclockwise, going against those rival gangs.
Yes.
Loved it. And
yes.
I mean, like, I could have easily put Gran Turismo in its place for PlayStation 2. Like, love Gran Turismo, but I did like, you know, being able to, you know, that competitive aspect of you know, racing another one for respect, that cred.
the cred, right? You know, and then later on you get parts, you know. So for those of you listening, you know, this particular racing game is an arcade racer, right? And so you know, you would do racing battles, kind of like Fast and Furious style. But then you catch them on the freeway, and then like you would flash your lights, and once you flash your lights, it would initiate the actual race, and then you kind of go from there, and then you'd soup up your cars and all that. And they were, I think, if I remember right, they were not licensed. Like, were they licensed cars? Do you remember? I don't remember for sure if it was licensed or not.
I don't think they were licensed, but I mean, like, you definitely had your Skylines, you had your Z's, Sylvia. You had all the
you had all the major race rockets, in that respect. We had all that, and like I said, I love that series. Again, it was very reminiscent of the Ridge Racer style series, where it's just very arcadey, and this. You don't get damaged. I mean, that's one thing I don't like about Forza and like Gran Turismo now. And it's funny too, because I mean, that's something that the realism factor is always what people want. For me personally, like, I don't really care. Like, I don't care about camber. I don't care about like have to replace my clutch and all that other stuff. I just want to be able to race. I want to be able to use a car to make my turn, so that way I don't crash all the way through,
But you know what, though? The game also gave you that aspect. I mean, it was an arcade racer, but you had like the ability to tune your vehicle. Like,
yes, that's right.
So like if a guy was really giving you some grief, you could, come back, you go back to your garage, tune it up a little bit, and it's like, hey, look at this, I'm gonna excel like super fast.
Right, totally. And I think what was it? If I remember right, in Tokyo Extreme Racer 2, there was a game that had like a little Joker symbol. It was like a jester, and like you could never beat him. At least I couldn't beat him. But I remember in Tokyo Extreme Racer 2 it was like that, and I actually downloaded that the other day because I just had I had to dig up my Dreamcast, and like I wanted to play some games, and actually playing the other day I was like, man, totally remember this. And then you look at it on a modern day television, man, it looks horrible.
I know.
It's so bad. I was like,
what we had to do to like, why did it look so good to us? Why did we play this so much? Like,
you know why? Because it was the CRTs.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny
trash
now
on trash makes it look good.
Oh, dude, for sure. And I'm actually on the hunt for a CRT. Like, but the problem is like all the CRTs that are on like Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or whatever like that is they're too big. Like they're like 27 inches, 32 inches, and I'm like, as much as I would love to have like a Sony Triniton, like Triton, whatever, and Trinitron, something like that. I would love to have one of those if I had the space for it, and if I had the electric bill to run it. But I mean, dude, those things are crispy, like super crispy. For anything retro, it'd be like amazing to have. Cool. All right. So that's your number 3, Tokyo Extreme Racer Zero. Good pick. Like I said, I'm loving this so far. All right. So my number 3, again, I think I told you guys in the beginning, a lot of my games are kind of AAA titles, and they are. But they have a lot of near and dear memory to my heart. And I remember playing this game because I never purchased it, because I mean back then games were pretty darn expensive, so I always borrowed things, whether it be Blockbuster or from a friend or anything like that. But I remember renting this game numerous times, and I remember at one point purchasing it, but I don't remember when, and I don't even know if I still have the card anymore. But I do have it on Virtual Console and all this other stuff. But the game that I am referring to is Super Metroid.
That's a good one.
It's
a really good title. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Super Metroid had everything, as far as gameplay wise, was just outstanding. Super tight controls. You controlled a female hero, right? And you are just this badass that just wants to go to town on all these aliens because they took the Metroid from the base. And then not only that, what's even crazier is that it had voice acting in the beginning, right? Like in the beginning, it was like the last Metroid is in captivity, the world is at peace. You're like, holy shit, like that is amazing. Yeah, it totally was just like mind blowing to hear that. And then when you start playing the game, after that, you didn't really have that much dialogue after that, which is kind of like a lost art now, where it's just like you have these games where it's all dialogue driven. You just go, you go to place and all that stuff. In this game, it was just like can you get here? Great. If you can't get here, it's probably because you don't have a weapon, you know, or like it's probably because you don't have this, or you don't have that, or you can't jump, or you can't get this high. So it was all about exploration, and you just, you know, and if you know where everything is, the game is kind of short. But if you don't know where everything is and you're just exploring every single nook and cranny of it, it can get pretty, you know, pretty lengthy, you know, at the time. And it's one of the my most favorite games to watch in the speed run. It's one of my favorite speedrun games to watch, and it's something that I've always just been. Every time I play it, again, it's like Link to the Past. I can play this game nonstop. I can always play it. You know, I love this game. You know, Super Metroid definitely, you know, on this list for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good pick, honestly. I love that, you know, it did have that story aspect to it, and in space, love space, love flying. So I mean, you're in a spaceship going through space chasing pirates. That's like that's easily like,
yeah, for sure.
Right.
And it's just really, and like I said, I love the fact that, you know, you know, before it was kind of like in Metroid for Nintendo, it was kind of like Samus and Aaron. It's, you know, you think it's a dude, it's not, it's a girl, but they're like, are you sure it's really a girl? This one's like, yes, it's a girl. Like it's like for sure, like, you know, and this is you know, this is the bounty hunter right here, you know, and is, you know, she's just a huge badass and just wants to go to town, you know, and so I always thought that was really cool. To do that, and it was very unheard of. Still, you know, it's unheard of at the time. I mean, there's very few. I still just think there's very few heroines, right, or main characters that are female. I mean, you know, you can do Mass Effect and be female, but I mean, there's like other, you know, things that are like main characters. I think who was it? I don't know if you've ever played a Horizon Zero Dawn. You know, she had the.
You know, she's the female. Heroine, but the I do, you know, I after I get through with Red Dead, that's actually on my, it's already been downloaded, it's ready to go. I have all the DLC. That's going to be the next game I play
on PS4, PC.
PS4.
Gotcha, right on.
PS4,
yeah, I actually wanted to buy it on PC because, you know, I have the system for it, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I can't spend like $40-$50 when I can buy this game for PS4 for like $5. Like, you know? Yeah. So it's just it's crazy stuff, man. So all right, good deal. So Mark, number 2, what do you have?
I picked Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Oblivion,
okay. Not Skyrim.
right. Oblivion. Yeah, no, because Skyrim is, you know, it's everybody is all about Skyrim because, you know, customization and mods and all that other stuff.
Newest title on the PS3.
Yes.
Or PS. Yeah, it was on PS. No, PS4.
For Oblivion.
No, Skyrim.
Oh, Skyrim. Yeah.
We were time of Skyrim for a little bit. Like, yeah, Skyrim was 4, but Oblivion was, I think, PC and PS3. I played it on the PS3, so I went from Sega to PlayStation 2 or PS1, and then PS2, and then I just stayed Sony all the way.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, I got to put number 2 on Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I played the hell out of that game. That role playing aspect, you know, it played into my exploration. You know, like loved like exploring the map. You know, sneaking around, you know, taking out fools with my bow, you know, stealth kill. Definitely, you know, loved exploring, you know, the entire map with that character. You know, Dark Brotherhood, right? Like, you know, joining all, you know, the baddies, or just being enveloped in that world. There's several times where like I've fallen asleep, just like looking up at the stars, like, because it just like it changes from day to night, like, you know, and you kind of just get lost in that world, and it definitely was, it would you know, immerse you in that. I felt pretty immersed when I played that game. Like, I would just, like I said, I would fall asleep because the soundtrack is so good. Like, sometimes I would just, you know, I'm working and I'll launch YouTube and I'm like, hey, whoa, there's like a Skyrim playlist, or and then they start going through like, you know, Oblivion, and I was like, yeah, oh my god, like I've spent so many hours on that. But yeah, just
so
RPG, solid RPG.
Absolutely. So I'm a little biased. I've never played any type of Elder Scrolls game. I'm pretty biased to American RPGs, to be quite frankly with you. And I think part of it has to deal with the fact that, you know, the customization, I love customization to a point. So, you know, I guess because I've always been a big a JRPG fan, so it's something that I never really dove into. Everybody and their mother has always been telling me like you should get into Elder Scrolls, you should get Oblivion, or you should get Skyrim and try that. Or I think in the same vein as Witcher, right? Like it's kind of in the same
Yeah.
in the same realm, and not the same stories obviously, but in the same gameplay wise.
I would say that's even more customizable. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
right. So I mean, so
was-
with Oblivion though, you played it on PC,
PS3,
PS3,
PlayStation 3, yeah.
Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, good game. I wish I started playing it. Couldn't say I have, but I'm definitely, I definitely want to try it, or at least watch the gameplay of it. So sort of just so that way I can get myself familiar with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool deal. So my number two again. This game definitely set the tone for my family and my brothers, and we always played and see who's on top. And now as the adult, I am on top. I don't care who you are, brothers. But this game was Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter was definitely a really big part of my life as far as video games are concerned. The one thing that I do cherish the most, or one of the things I cherish the most, is having a lot of positive or great memories with my brothers playing, even though they beat me, and I was not crying, but I was like, man, this sucks, man. Like I'm not that good, or I didn't have the aptitude to understand what how to play the game. But as years went on, you just realize that this game is so massive, right? Like it's just the way that it brought arcade culture in and like brought people together, or got mad at people or whatever. And then you bring it in a home console, and then like you play at home, and then you start to get better. Then you go to like Vegas, and my parents would take us to Vegas, and we would play at the arcades and then show off our stuff and train and all this stuff. I mean, like it's so ingrained into my my DNA. And like I said, I still play it to this day. I have a huge collection of joysticks for Street Fighter, because that's like, I know you're a big Zelda fan, I'm a big Street Fighter fan, so I have a huge collection of things, memorabilia, posters, cards, whatever the case is. And it's definitely one of my favorite games of all time, just because it's a game that makes you think. I mean, you don't have to think, you can just mash buttons all day, but when you think about it as it's a 2-minute chess match. That's the way I can describe it to people, is that it's a 2-minute chess match where you figure out what your opponent's going to do, or what are you going to do? Are you going to play a turtle? Are you going to be aggressive? Are you going to be neutral? Like how are you going to play the game? And so I love watching it. I love playing it. That's pretty much what how I feel about it. I'm so passionate about it. I mean, I've gone to Vegas numerous times to go to EVO to compete. It's been really fun. I mean, I'm not in it to win it. I'm not like, I'm not saying I'm going to be the champion, but it's just, I thrive on competition, and I'm not athletic. And so, this is the next best thing for me to be able to do that. But Street Fighter 2 is definitely, one of my true loves, in video games. Thoughts?
Really good choice. Like, like I didn't get to play a whole lot of Street Fighter, because again, I didn't have a Nintendo. I was at my fighting exposure was Mortal Kombat on Sega. So a little bit different. I think I haven't played since Mortal Kombat 2 or 3.
Okay.
I mean, like,
it's
like nowadays, like it's gotten so crazy and out of hand. Like they got Terminator.
Oh yeah, Terminator, RoboCop.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, like I dabbled in Street Fighter. I definitely liked the obscure characters like Dan. I don't know if he was available in 2.
No. The two's all the way back. That's the 8 fighter. Dan was in a alpha, but yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think my debut with Street Fighter was I think I played like the classic ones, like 1, 2. Yeah. When they were available with my friend, like I'd play that way. But I definitely would play, like I'm aware and have played and rented like Street Fighter Alpha.
Okay.
So I mean, like that's where I got exposed to other players like Dan and T-Hawk and all those other guys. But really good choice. Like I agree. I had to say, like Marvel versus Capcom is one of my favorite fighters.
Sure, absolutely, great fighting game. Just between licenses and the animations and all that stuff. I love Marvel vs. Capcom.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not great at it, but I mean,
comic books, anime. It's like, why not?
Why not, right? I mean, like, match made in heaven. It's just like, might as well, it's all like pancakes and syrup.
Taking on Ryu,
sure.
like what?
Cheese. It's all like a hamburger and cheeseburger. What? All right, let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, totally.
Great.
It was definitely something that I feel was very near and dear. There's so many things that you can I can talk about it with it, but it's definitely one of my favorites. So we're in
that title.
Yeah, right. All right. So we're down to the wire here, folks. We are going down to the number one. I guess my one honorable mention, with this list, before we go number one was Super Mario World, just because it's the game came in when you buy Super Nintendo at the time when it had launched, came with the game. I loved it to death. And it was one of my favorite games to play with my cousins, my brothers, and we would go to town on it. And it's such a good platformer, and there was so much to explore in the game that you're just like, you can play it over and over and over again. What I love, and I'm actually my heart is growing a little bit fonder, is that my son is like really into Mario right now. So like all these Mario games, like we were just playing Mario Odyssey the other day, and I'm just like, but he'll play Super Mario Maker and get to like the Mario World episode, Mario World stages. I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, he doesn't know how to play, but I mean, like, he's just walking around and stuff. But it's really cool. But yeah, that was my honorable mention. But let's go ahead and shoot it down to the last. What's number one, Mark? I have a feeling what this is, but go right ahead.
Yeah, it's gonna go Zelda. It's gonna be my number one pick. Is gonna be Skyward Sword.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, what?
Okay. Yeah, no, that was left field. Okay, that was left field because we talked about this before we recorded. I was like, yep. I know what it is, but I'm gonna let him explain.
You thought I was gonna say Wind Waker, huh?
That's right, because I just played Wind Waker and it was amazing.
It's a great game.
It's such a good game. Oh my god, so good. Yeah.
Remember that part where you like do that somersault and you like
yes,
right into Ganondorf's head?
Oh, dude, it was so dope.
It's so sick. I was so
sick. Yeah, and like the art style. Nintendo. Oh, and not only that, but like I love the dialogue of Zelda of Wind Waker, just because it was very whimsical. It wasn't very. It was serious, but it wasn't like it was playful. You know, like a lot of Zelda games are very like you got to save you gotta save the Triforce. We got to save the world. Over here, it was just like, hey man, like stop doing that, or like or it's just like it was because he was a kid. It was a really really young Link. But I digress. I'm sorry. Skyward Sword, one of the Zelda games I did not play.
A lot of people haven't, and I understand that like not a lot of people play it, but like they're like, oh, it's on the Wii. Like it doesn't like I don't think people give that game enough credit. Right. Like they need to play it. Like Nintendo needs to really do an HD remake for that game.
Okay.
Because what killed it for a lot of people was it was on the Wii motion controls. Like yes, you had to swing a sword around. There's countless times where I was playing that game and I had to take breaks. Like, I was just like swinging around, and like it's so good. Like you rotate your Wiimote. And it changes the it changes the way it rotates like the sword in game. Right. So you can go like this. You can slice this way. You slice upwards. Right. Left to right. Anyway, and the enemies were hard. Right. So they had they're like, oh, you can only attack this enemy when you spin him around. If you swing his sword left to right or right to left, and you only had to you had to thrust to ultimately defeat him. So that it made you really think about how to tackle this enemy. You're like, okay, this guy did that. Okay, I forgot how do I take this guy out again? So
right. And
there was I do have a little statue of Skirvo. It's like this really obscure mini boss when you hit like the desert land. And it's so amazing. Like you really need to play it.
I should.
My number one game. Wow. Yes, if you do get a Wii.
Which
or
I
you have a
do.
Wii U back there.
I have a Wii U back here. Exactly.
Yeah, I can let you borrow it. Man.
I'll just download it. It'll be all right. Oh
So
man.
yeah, Skyward Sword, #1 pick. Great story.
Mhm.
Like you get to see like how things progress. Progress in the story.
Right.
So frustrating yet such a good story. This gameplay frustrating, but
Right.
but I mean, like you come out like you've won.
So, so when you were playing, were you sitting down and swiping, or were you actually standing the entire time?
I was doing both.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
I have like a little drum throne here, and I'd play that. Or I sit, I'll sit and slash if I was like kind of getting tired, and then I'll stand up if I was like really feeling it, like
right.
boss mode or like can't sing its praises enough. I don't want to give anything away. Like you need to play this game. Like it's gonna make you just like I don't know. Like,
all right, I'm convinced. I'm definitely convinced. That's I'm glad you said that because I said if there's any series that that I take your opinion on, it would be Zelda. And if you think that Skyward Sword is that good, then I definitely need to give it a whirl. And like I said, because I had the Wii U, now I'm going to be able to actually try. Hopefully, and see how it goes. Because like I said, I bought the Wii U specifically to play Wind Waker, and I did, which was great. And I was very very pleased with the outcome, and I was able to beat the entire game. But now I'm like, okay, now it's there. And I'm just like,
I was pleased with that remake. But
the remake
they need a remake like Skyward Sword. Like if they could bring it and to this generation and an HD remake without motion controls or with your choice if you want to play with motion controls or not, but it would be an instant classic.
Oh sure, yeah, for sure. Good deal. All right, so all right, well we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do my #1, and this #1 again couldn't say this enough. I know I say it with all my games, but this one was definitely the cake. I guess you know what. I did put this in order of least to best, just because. And every time I think of this game, I think of late nights by myself talking to the TV, my mom walking in while I'm talking to the TV and asking me who I'm talking to, and being very embarrassed by that by the entire sequence. But I didn't care because I would play this game over and over and over again. Mind you, this game at least will take about 40 to 60 hours to play per trip. This game was on Super Nintendo. It was Final Fantasy 3, which is actually Final Fantasy 6 for Super Nintendo. And
but they're like their numbering.
Yeah, they're numbering because Japan and Japan had a bunch of Final Fantasies before it came in, but then in the U.S. it was Final Fantasy 2 and then Final Fantasy 3, and then they jumped to 7 on PlayStation just because they wanted to kind of keep it inconsistent, keep it consistent with what they had in Japan. But Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 3, one of the best stories ever written for Final Fantasy. I think this is very debatable. Everybody and their mother that we talk Final Fantasy with will either agree or disagree. It's usually 6, 4, and 7. Usually are the ones that are like So
I'm a little bit. I'm kind of like unfamiliar with some of the earlier Final Fantasies because. I didn't get a chance to play those, but but I'm kind of familiar with like the way the cover art looks. Maybe
this was the purple. This was the purple cover art with the Moogle.
Is that the one with like the mech too? Like, is there like some type of like steampunk aspect to it?
Yes.
Okay, that's one of the ones I wanted to try and get on my little emulator for my RetroPie.
So you've never played Final. So let me ask you this: have you played a Final Fantasy before?
Yes, I have. It's got to be 7. Like I've played like that.
Sure. Okay,
this one is the first one you ever played.
For sure, yeah, for sure. And one of my other buddies, he's that was his first RPG. Or no, I take that back. That was his favorite game of all time, and and we always go back and forth about it. It's a good back and forth. I never bag on 7 just because 7's a fantastic game. It blew a lot. It impacted the industry a huge amount. But for me personally, because Final Fantasy 6 had a huge story and it had so many different characters in the game that you just every single character in the game had a backstory minus like 2. and then there's like 20 characters, right? And like you had like a ton of ways to play the game. The magic system was fantastic, the way you leveled up. But really, it's just like I said, like you have all these different story arcs, and then you have like different ways to to level up your characters. You had summons, you had all this stuff, and I don't want to ruin this for you because I didn't realize you never played it.
Yeah.
It's almost Empire Strikes Back ish, right? Like in game terms. And so you play it and things happen and you're just like, what? And then you just like, oh my God, that sucks. And then you're just like, and then you have like dawns of hope and you just want to just continue on and you want to find every single thing. You want to find every single ability or every single Esper. And I remember doing that numerous times and leveling every single character because if I remember right, yeah, you level up your characters, but they're all proxy leveled, meaning that they level up with your highest amount of characters, your other characters will level up like maybe halfway through, but they will never level up to the same level as your other characters. So you have to go back to your other characters and be like, okay, I want to build this party out and then go from there. And I, had so many late nights playing that game and so many good memories, great memories of just, the music. I mean, one of my, again, the same buddy that, loves Final Fantasy 7, he actually ended up buying me a vinyl copy of Final Fantasy 6, the original soundtrack, and it is so good. And I can listen to that thing over and over again, and it just brings me back, man. Like I'm sure in Skyward Sword, you listen to some music, you're just like, oh, that totally brings me back, like to when I was doing this, right? Yeah. So it's definitely the same, passion for me. And, I can play it over and over again. I mean, do I have the patience for it now? Probably not, just because I'm older now and I don't really have like the time to just dedicate to play like a JRPG like that's deep. In fact, Persona 4 has been taking me forever to finish. But I should be pretty close to finishing it now. But, and I just enjoyed it so much. And like, there's just, the sprites and everything was just so good. Yeah. So we're done. That's the 5, man.
We did it.
We did it. We finally went through it. I really, really, really want to thank you, Mark, for joining me on this.
Thank you.
I really loved your perspective on a lot of stuff, and it was really good talking to you. Is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Play Skyward Sword. Now, do it right now.
Do it right now. Okay, well, I'm going to download it later on. All right. Well, again, listeners, thank you so much for listening. If you have any topics that you guys want us to hear, or if you have your own top 5 video games, I'd love to hear it from you, or Anthony would as well. Email us at topics@whatsyour5.com. You can also visit us at whatsyour5.com and look at previous lists. This list will be on there as well. My name is Rodel. That's Mark. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great night.